Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another episode of Chemical Guys Detail Garage. Today in the shop we have this Ford F-150. Now we washed it and then we saw that it has a lot of scratches and swirls that are not so noticeable just due to the fact that the vehicle has a lot of metallic flake. So today we're going to go over how to choose the right compounder polish, pad, and machine to go ahead and remove the light scratches and swirls that are on this truck. The first thing that we noticed was the contamination. When we were drying the car, we were getting a lot of streaking, and that's due to the fact that the vehicle has contamination. So a lot of that water is kind of sticking to the pockets of where the contamination lies on the paint, and it kind of drags over the paint, so you don't necessarily get that streak-free dry. So you can feel the paint yourself, and you can actually hear it in my microphone. I don't know if you guys can hear this. This truck is a newer truck and it feels very, very nasty. It's super contaminated and we want to go ahead and knock that off before we start polishing. So we're going to go ahead and utilize our clay bar. Now I've chosen to go with our OG clay bar, which is our original, which is a mixture between a light and a medium. Now this clay bar works out great for vehicles that, that are on the newer side that may have a layer of contamination. So this is going to go ahead and help us pretty much knock off this layer of contamination and rough feeling that's on the paint. The reason this vehicle has a lot of contamination in the first place is because it's actually parked outside in an area where there's an airport, and as you guys know, there's a lot of industrial fallout in those types of areas. You're gonna get a lot of that stuff on your paint, especially when you have like a white car. You'll start noticing it when you start seeing like a lot of little yellow and brown specks on your paint. On dark paint, you don't necessarily see it, but you can definitely feel it. So I'm gonna go ahead and start this process by taking the plastics off of my clay bar here. You wanna make sure to take these plastics off, because if you don't, it's not going to work out for you. And throw them away or keep them if you want to coat your clay bar again once you store it. I'm going to go ahead and grab a small chunk of the clay bar so that we can go ahead and do a section of the hood. You don't want to use the entire clay bar because if I were to drop all of this, there we go. So as you guys can see, the clay bar is very sticky, it's very tangible, so you can actually, morph it around to your liking. Before I got carried away, you don't want to use the entire clay bar because if I were to drop all that clay bar right now on the floor, it would be a very, very sad day because that clay bar would have fell on the floor, got a lot of those rocks, debris, and anything that's sitting on the floor on the clay bar. And if I were to go ahead and put that on the paint, it'd definitely scratch it up a lot more than we probably began with. So don't use the whole clay bar, use what you need. I'm just gonna use this little piece right here. I'm gonna morph it around into a little patty here that I can grab with my forefingers. And now that we're done, you can see my patty there. It's nice. I can grab it with my forefingers. It's not gonna slip out of my hand. Next thing you wanna do is grab your clay luber. Clay luber works out great because this is going to lubricate the surface so that you don't, mar the surface or install future scratches and swirls when using your clay bar. A lot of common questions that we get is how much do you put or how do you use a clay bar? Use an ample amount. Don't be stingy with the product. You want to make sure that the surface is well lubricated. It glides over the surface a lot easier and you don't, risk marring the surface. Once the area is saturated, all you want to do is drag your clay bar left and right or up and down. Whatever your preference is, we just don't recommend that you go in a circular motion. And I'm pretty sure you guys can hear this on camera. It sounds like I'm actually scratching the paint because it sounds very rough. But as you go, you're gradually going to be removing that layer of contamination. It's going to pull it off the surface and the pores of your paint. And it's going to pretty much go until you get that nice smooth finish. And you can always spray more if necessary. I'm going to have to spray a little bit more right there. But as you go, you'll see that it starts kind of sounding less and less and less until you hear nothing anymore and it's glass smooth. Once the clay bar is pretty much gliding over the surface, you'll know that you're done and you can move on to the next section. I'm going to finish this little section here because this is the section that we're going to be working on, and we'll be right back once we're done. All right guys, so now that we're done working the product, I'm gonna go ahead and wipe off the excess of the clay lubricant. Now, when you wipe it off, all you gotta do is use a nice workhorse towel. You don't have to use anything fancy. We're just wiping off the product so that we can inspect our results. Now that we're done with the section, I go ahead and grab my glove here, feel the paint. It's nice and smooth. You don't hear that raspy feeling like you do over here. Look, this is smooth. This is contaminated. Smooth, contaminated. So now that we're done with that section, I'm gonna go ahead and put my clay bar away, store that to the side, and then we did wash this car with a pH neutral soap. We didn't know that the vehicle was gonna be this damaged. So if we did know and we were gonna go for a full paint correction, we actually would have washed it with Clean Slate, which as you guys know is a surface cleansing wash that's gonna remove any kind of oils like waxes and sealants that's on the paint. But since we didn't, we're gonna go ahead and use Wipeout, which is pretty much a surface cleanser spray. This works out great to prep the surface and remove any kind of oils, sealants, previous coats of glazes that are on the paint so that when we go for a paint correction, we don't have any interference with our results. So all you want to do with this here is grab your bottle and just utilize it like a quick detail spray. All you want to do is spray the surface and then you're just going to wipe it right off. And that, like I said, it's going to go ahead and wipe off any kind of oils, previous coats of glazes, sealants, and anything that can, interfere with our results. Very easy to use. I highly recommend using this product prior to polishing and or even doing anything on your paint, such as applying a wax, sealant, or a glaze, even a ceramic coating, just because that's gonna go ahead and enhance the bond between your product and onto the surface of the paint. All right guys, so now that the preparation's done, now we can hop into the fun part, which is polishing. So before we jump into anything, I do want to go over our Chemical Guys V-line. Now the V-line consists of 2 compounds and 2 polishes. Now these work out great because it gives you a wide spectrum of cutting options depending on, the type of paint that you have, the level of scratches and swirls that you have, and anything that's a factor as far as like an imperfection in the paint. To begin with, we have V32. V32 is an extreme grade compound. Now this compound is designed for heavy imperfections such as oxidation, very deep scratches and swirls, and any kind of imperfections that light polish wouldn't be able to do within one pass. Our next product here is going to be V34. Now V34 is a hybrid compound. So that means that it's going to cut as a compound and finish as a light polish. So as you work in the product, it's going to cut light to medium imperfections such as oxidation, scratches, and swirls at a more moderate pace. So like I said, V32 would be the more extreme compound. V34 would be more of a mild version of a compound. Once you get these out of the picture, you're left with your 2 polishes here. V36 is a light cutting polish. V36 works out great as far as a one-step polish and or to remove lighter imperfections such as scratches and swirls and oxidation, or even water spots. This works out great, like I said, as a one-step. So if you just want to use it with like a polishing pad to maintain your paint, works out great. If you want to go ahead and use it with a cutting pad to cut those light imperfections, knock yourself out. The last product here is going to be V38. V38 is going to be your jewel, that's going to be your final finessing polish. Now this works out great as a final polish to restore the shine, the clarity, and achieve that ultra smooth feel on your paint once you're done cutting with any of these prior products. As always, before we hop into polishing, we do want to assess the paint. As you guys can see, the paint is pretty scratched up, it's swirled, it has a lot of imperfections. But just because it's a newer truck, it doesn't mean that it can't have any scratches or swirls. I mean, you can have a brand new truck right off the lot and have someone wash it with the Brillo pad and your paint's all jacked up. So you can never underestimate your paint. You always have to assess it and make sure that you're using an ultra bright LED inspection light to go ahead and search the paint for any kind of scratches, swirls, and any imperfections so that you know what you're working with. With any other car, we always recommend using the least aggressive approach. Why is that? Simply because we want to make sure that we minimize the amount of clear coat that we're cutting, because whenever you polish or you compound, you are pretty much leveling the clear coat and removing a fine layer of it every time you do decide to polish it. So in order for us to preserve the paint for as long as we can, we want to make sure that we cut as little of it as possible to get the results that we want without having to cut a whole chunk of clear coat off the paint and cut a whole lifetime period of the paint. Less is more when it comes to polishing, unless you absolutely need to go ahead and resort to like a V32. Start off with the less aggressive approach such as V36 and work your way down if you have to. I know I'm talking a lot, so let's just go ahead and hop right into it. We're gonna go ahead and utilize the least aggressive approach, which is gonna be our orange pad, our orange Hexlogic cutting pad. And we're gonna go ahead and use that with V36 light cutting polish. Now remember, this is a polish, but it's a cutting polish. So that means that we are gonna get a light cut, not a heavy cut, just enough to go ahead and minimize and cut any kind of light imperfections such as the scratches and swirls. So as always, make sure to shake up your product. And then you wanna go ahead and apply about 5 pea-sized drops to your pad. rule of thumb is the size of your pad that you're working on, such as if you're working on a 6-inch pad, 6 drops, 5-inch pad, 5 drops. And these are pea-sized drops. They're not crazy, they're not huge. This is just enough to go ahead and kind of saturate the pad. I'll let you guys check that out right there. And then once you have your pad ready with the polish, you want to go ahead and use pad conditioner to moisten up your pad, condition it so that we don't build up any excess heat, which can potentially lead to burning the paint or marring it, or prematurely drying out our polish. So just make sure you saturate your pads using pad conditioner, give it 2 light sprays, you're good to go, and you're ready to start polishing. We're gonna go ahead and blot out the product onto the surface that we're working on. Like I said, we are gonna be working in like a small 2x2 section. That's the section that we prepped right here. And that's just so that we have a control panel so that we see what works and what doesn't. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this, like I said, with V36 and the orange pad, blot it out. I'm gonna spread it out on speed setting 1. And then once I have spread it out, I'm gonna go ahead and bump it up to speed setting 6 and work in the polish until it's completely translucent. We'll wipe off the polish and then we'll inspect the results once we're back. All right guys, so now we've done this little section. I did try to keep it together so that we can kind of get like a line of a difference between the polished side versus the unpolished side. So now I'm gonna go ahead and grab a nice clean workhorse towel. I'm gonna buff off the excess of the polish. And so far I can definitely tell that's a huge difference as far as clarity and shine in the 2 panels. I'm not sure how well the camera catches it. We'll kind of go back and forth right now with the camera so that we make sure that we check and get this difference on camera for you guys. But check it out, you guys can see it has a lot more clarity. From what I can see without using the light, there are still some heavy scratches and swirls that are in the paint that may, have to be removed with a stronger compound such as V34. But honestly, for something like this, as far as a one-step solution, I'm really, really happy with these results. So now let's go ahead and put this LED inspection light on here. Check it out, guys. Looks like brand new. Those imperfections are gone as far as like those light to moderate ones. You can still see, I don't know if you guys catch it on camera, there are some deeper ones right here. I'm really not gonna worry myself for something like that. If you're that perfectionist, you do have that whole V-line, that whole spectrum of compounds and polishes in order for you to remove those heavier imperfections. But like I said, for someone who, is just a weekend warrior, someone who loves their car, someone that just wants to make their paint pop more and have more depth, V36 and orange pad, that gives you great results all day. That's one of our personal favorite combinations here on the shop. I know a lot of guys like that combination, so check that out. Not only do you see the scratch and swirls gone, I don't know if the camera catches it, but you actually see more depth. This right here has more of a white haze, as to this right here has more of a darker haze. I'll have the cameraman just kind of pan around so you guys can see those results. From right here, it looks amazing. As you guys saw, the results look amazing just from a one-step polish using V36. Now, the point of this video is to explain to you guys that obviously we have a ton of products as far as like compounds and polishes, but that's just because you have different paint jobs out there. This right here is a Ford. I believe this clear coat has somewhat of a medium soft clear coat, so that's why we were able to achieve the results with just using one step and using the V36. With European cars, you have more of a harder clear coat. It's gonna require a bit of a more aggressive approach in order to remove those deeper imperfections or even the lighter imperfections. You may wanna have to go with like the V34 and at most even like the V32. You can go ahead and do a variety of different product choices. The orange pad primarily is going to be your cutting pad. So if you want to go ahead and cut light imperfections or cut heavier imperfections, orange pad is going to be your cutting pad. We also have the white pad here, which is going to be more for like refining the paint. So let's say that we hit that panel right there with the V36 and the orange cutting pad. We can go ahead and follow it up with V38, which is our final polish. and the white polishing pad to just pretty much bring out the shine, the clarity, and the luster on the paint if you're happy with the results. But like I said, if you're not happy with them and you want to go ahead and get rid of the deeper imperfections, V34, and then if that doesn't work, V32. That's pretty much your last resort right there as far as heavy imperfections and swirls. Our mission is pretty much to get rid of the scratches and swirls by using the least aggressive approach as possible, because remember, your clear coat does not grow back. You cannot, put water on there and expect it to grow back. It's not a tree, it's not a plant. This right here, it's a final coat. So you want to make sure that you preserve this coat so that your paint job looks amazing for years to come, so that your car doesn't prematurely start fading, oxidizing, and your paint peeling within 10 years or so. The last thing you want to worry about is having a newer looking truck and having peeling paint. The paint is ultimately what's going to be pretty much attacked by all these harsh UV rays and what's going to always be exposed to the elements. So now that you're done polishing and you have the results that you want on your vehicle, what do you do now? Well, what you want to go ahead and do is wipe your vehicle all over again with Wipeout. Now this is going to remove any kind of polishing residue and any kind of dust and dirt that lands on your paint while you were polishing it. That's going to go ahead and prepare it. So like I said, it's going to remove any kind of coatings, sealants, and waxes that are on the surface, so that whenever you apply like a ceramic coating, which if you go through the trouble of polishing your entire paint, I would highly recommend putting a ceramic coating such as HydroCharge, just because if you want to go ahead and do all that work and just put a wax on it, that works out great. But why not get the ultimate protection by putting a layer of ceramic coating first, like HydroCharge, layering it with the coat of Jet Seal sealant, and then topping it off with a nice carnauba wax such as a paste wax or even like something like butter wet wax. I hope you guys learned something new. I know that we didn't really get too much polishing done. We only really did the V36 light cutting polish with the orange pad, but that's all we needed at the end of the day. If you guys like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you guys have any other questions that I didn't get through during this video, make sure to comment down below, and always comment down below if you have any future ideas for any YouTube videos that you want us to shoot. We're always excited to shoot these videos for you guys, so make sure to comment down below. If you haven't done so already, subscribe. And as always, my name is Joey. This is Chemical Guys Detail Garage. We'll see you guys next time.